Hello, this is Mr. Usher, and I'm here to talk to you guys about Chapter 4 today. Everything should be moving along pretty smoothly at this point. Chapter 4 is going to wrap up the final chapter in Microsoft Word, and it's titled Advanced Formatting Features. So as I scroll down a little bit on this assignments, you guys are going to see that you're going to start with the practice volcanoes. And to be perfectly honest, volcanoes is probably one of my favorite assignments. It's probably one of the assignments that will be the most applicable to you guys, your future as a student. So it's basically like a report. It has a cover page. It teaches you how to properly put a table of contents and how that can be linked to each section within your document. You can hyperlink by clicking on those links to going to those sections. And then towards the end, it allows you to put in some tables and cite information by creating a works cited page. In your English classes, a works cited page is going to be very, very important for avoiding plagiarism and moving on into college and later on into high school for more senior type papers that you guys would be working on. Citing your sources is important. We can even link this back a little bit to chapter 1 on how you guys did your research and you guys did sample citation. So really pay attention, and if you need to, watch the video for volcanoes. I think you can get a lot out of this practice. The next two, tutoring and space transmission, they're a little bit shorter practices. So tutoring is a brochure. It's going to show you how to create a brochure from scratch. You're going to turn the orientation of the paper to landscape, divide it up into 3 columns, and it's going to end up being 2 pages because it's going to be front and back. So there's a picture in your textbook that kind of shows you which is the front panel, which is the back panel, which is the inside panel, and which are the inside pages to the brochure. So just kind of refer to that a little bit to understand that when you do fold it, it will look a little bit different than it would look on your screen. You have to visualize it being folded and kind of being 3D in front of you. But that's a pretty simple practice. It's also going to introduce something called smart art graphics, which easily could be used with creating diagrams for many different projects, maybe for science, something to help you identify some information a little bit better, maybe comparing strengths and weaknesses, similarities. So the smart art graphics are really important. Next one is space transmissions. Space transmissions going to show you guys how to create a newsletter. Up there at the top, just some key vocabulary that'll be like the nameplate. And at the end, there's something called the masthead. You're going to divide things up into 1 and 2 column layouts. And this is kind of a cool practice if you understand how you divide a document up into sections, because the top section is going to have 1 column. The next section is going to have 2 columns, and on the next page you're going to have 3 columns. So it's really some advanced formatting that you're working with on space transmissions. After you complete the review questions, you're going to be working with elements, which is further dividing some information up into tables. You can probably relate that back to how you divided things with tab stops. Tab stops are a little bit similar to dividing things up in tables. They're just done a different way. The exercise 2 Saturn will reinforce a lot of the things that you worked on the practice volcanoes. It's just a little bit shorter of a version of that. And I found that sometimes in that practice, there's going to be a step where you're asked to choose a specific style set. And sometimes students have a difficulty finding the exact one. We'll see how that goes with you guys. I know that working on this in class in the lab, students always had trouble. I think it was called the formal style set. So if you couldn't find that, just choose any other style set and you'll see how it applies the changes to your document within the fonts and the colors and the font sizes. The last one is a brochure. This one is kind of like an open-ended assignment, just like how you created a flyer in the last chapter, for you guys to create a brochure now. So you guys can either use a template or you guys can do it from scratch, just like you did from space transmissions. But in the end, what I'm looking for kind of like a real brochure, a professional brochure, something that could be printed out and used in real life for a business or for whatever its purpose being. So chapter 4, you will have an extended amount of time. You're going to have 1 week to complete chapter 4. And this chapter might be a little bit more challenging, so just kind of pace yourself and be ready for it. But you'll get through it, and then after this, we're going to move on into Excel. I will also be posting some information about the midterm, so please stay tuned for another video about that